Hi guys, and welcome to the second part of the course. We are still continuing with the suit of armour, and what we're going to make now is the breastplate. To do this, we'll follow exactly the same procedure as before when we made the shoulder pads. So we'll make a mask in the area of the breastplate. And remember to use references to help you. This process is meant to be quite creative and fun. You could go for a classic medieval armour, or maybe even something more fantasy inspired. It's up to you. Go to Subtool, Extract. Now, just as before, we need to clean up the polygroups, and we need to leave everything in just one layer. Remember to activate the double option. And then apply Delete Hidden to eliminate all the excess polygroups. Now we'll go to ZRemesh, and we'll start to optimize our model. Like we did earlier, activate the symmetry, and we're going to leave the breastplate with an acceptable number of polygons. So around 500 should be fine. Go to Polish by Features. Here. And we'll lightly soften. So as you can see, the process is always the same. Once you learn the steps, it's a lot easier, especially with this interface where all the relevant tools are handy. So make sure that everything is part of one polygroup, and then extrude the breastplate. So go to Edge Loop, Panel Loops, and like before, we can adjust the options we want and apply the panel loops. We'll input the same as before, so one loop, 1 or 2 in polish, and 0.01 for thickness. We'll only adjust this if you want to adjust the thickness of the armour. Before we move on, you could test some of the other options to see what they do, like bevel or elevation. This last one is quite good to make sure objects don't overlap one another. So for example, if we wanted to make a suit of armour on top of another one, this would make sure that they wouldn't overlap. So just test them out and experiment a little. If you just go here to the top, to Dynamic Subdivision, here, and then select Dynamic, we'd get a preview of how the piece would look with subdivisions. And this is great to be able to see this without actually having to apply the subdivision. And if you select Apply, then obviously the piece would transform into one with level 3 subdivision. But for now, we won't activate it. We can duplicate the shoulder pads, and with the help of the transpose, we could position them where you think looks best. So something like this looks okay. As we're working in symmetry, everything adjusts perfectly. Now with move topological or move normal, we can also adjust all these parts. You can now carry on making the rest of the pieces of the model and placing them wherever you think they look best. You can also place them on top of other pieces of armour. Your imagination really comes into play here. As this is pretty much the same as we've been doing up to now, I'll speed the camera up a little bit. I'm now focusing on the area of the thighs, and with the mask I'll select, and I'll use extract and clean up the polygroups by later deleting them. We can add some other small pieces to the arm. Okay. Extrude and repeat the same process. Then we'll place those pieces using transpose. And like I said, you could also place pieces on top of each other like sheets, which could look quite interesting. And we'll do the same for the forearms. In the deform panel, we can adjust the forearms even better. The area of the waist and the chest is very interesting. So here you can work placing pieces or armour on top of one another to make it more effective. On the other hand, the mask doesn't have to be continuous, so you can extrude by parts. It's very important to have references to hand, photos or models, so you can follow a concept. You'll always learn more this way. And when drawing a body, we need to see the anatomy. Well, here it's exactly the same. We need to see real images of armour to achieve a believable result. I'll duplicate the area of the thighs, and I'll place these sheets here with help of the transpose. So patiently place one next to another, and it's a little easier because symmetry is activated. So as you've seen, it's a creative process, it's quite fun, although at times it can be a little bit tedious. But you just need to keep patient Stick with it and we'll get a great looking result. So for the area of the skirts, if you will, we'll create a mask in the area of the waist, and then using the deform panel, we can adjust the shape. So here in the panel, we can adjust those values. And then just use the move brush to adjust the area. Mark the area that you're going to extrude with the mask. Go to extrude and activate the polygroups to see that separation. And leave the model with just one layer and get rid of the rest. Then optimize with ZRemesh, and then we need to apply the panel loops. Depending on the size of the piece, we'll have more or less polygons, but there shouldn't be more than 700, and there shouldn't really be any less than 200. If you see any part that you're not sure about, just delete it and carry on working on the rest. So you can see I've made some more components of the armour. So you could add this kind of skirt or kilt here, you could add some pieces to the arms, whatever you like. And now I'm going to add the helmet to finish off the structure of the model. To work properly on the helmet, we need to delete the ears from the model here. And to do that, we need to go back to point 1 of subdivision and select Delete Higher, which deletes the subdivisions. Then we just select them like this. It will then tell us that we have layers we need to bake. So we'll go to the layers area. And we'll do what's known as baking the layers. We need to remove this selection first, and then we can do it. So now we can delete the ears and soften. To remove the hole, simply select Close Holes. Now, just as before, follow the same process, but don't forget to subdivide the model again. Select the area where you want the helmet, and then extrude with the mask. Accept. And we'll remove the excess polygons. Delete hidden. And we need to prepare the panel loops. Before that, we could optimize the model a bit more with ZRemesh. Keep testing, keep optimizing. Just like before, edge loop, panel loop, with the same options as always. For the helmet, we'll use ZModeler to sculpt some of the details. So activate ZModeler and hold down Alt, make a polygon selection, then right-click inside the polygon, click, and then with Q mesh selected, extrude this area, like this. Okay, now select the edges and right-click to select bevel. If there's an area with segments missing, well then right-click on the edges and select Insert to add more segments. But be careful not to overdo it, as we're only in the first stage of subdivision. But you can add segments to this crest area that we've made, so that in the next subdivision, this area will be a little bit more visible. Okay, so let's leave it here for now. And in the next lesson, we'll start to add some more detail to the armor, and I'll see you there.